For nearly 50 years, the SR-71 Blackbird's 2,193 miles per hour record defined what was possible, until May 2025, when Hermeus's $18 million quarter-horse prototype reportedly flew at Mach 5.2 and shattered that benchmark. While Russia's Zircon and China's DF-17 compress U.S. radar warning to just 90 seconds, America's defense giants have spent over $4 billion, yet repeatedly failed to field operational hypersonic systems. So how did a 75-person startup in Atlanta achieve the technical breakthroughs that eluded government programs for decades? And what strategic consequences does this verified leap into the hypersonic era now unleash? In July 1976, the SR-71 Blackbird set a speed record that stood as the ultimate test of engineering ambition, 2,193 miles per hour, Mach 3.3 at 85,000 feet, confirmed by the Fédération Aéronautique Internationale and documented in NASA propulsion archives. Its titanium airframe and JP-7-fueled turbo ramjet engines allowed the Blackbird to cross continents in under 2 hours, outpacing every interceptor and missile of its era. For decades, that record was more than a number. It defined the boundary between the possible and the theoretical in high-speed flight. But in the last 5 years, the calculus has changed. Russia's Zircon missile, first tested in July 2021, now claims operational speeds up to Mach 9, over 6,800 miles per hour, covering 600 miles in minutes. China's DF-17 hypersonic glide vehicle, fielded by the People's Liberation Army Rocket Force, maneuvers at Mach 5 or higher and can withstand up to 20 Gs of acceleration, making interception nearly impossible. These new weapons compress the United States radar warning timeline from a Cold War standard of 15 minutes to just 90 seconds, a window so brief that even the best Aegis-class interceptors struggle to respond. The SR-71's record, once a symbol of untouchable American advantage, now reads like a relic. The emergence of operational hypersonic weapons from adversaries has not only closed the gap, but in some respects, left the United States exposed. The question is no longer whether the Blackbird's legacy can be matched, but whether the United States can adapt fast enough to meet threats that move at 5 to 9 times the speed of sound. The urgency is no longer theoretical. It is measured in seconds. Between 2020 and 2023, the Department of Defense poured more than $4 billion into hypersonic weapons programs, yet the scoreboard reads almost entirely in red. In March 2020, the Army's hypersonic glide vehicle test at White Sands ended before it began, as a software fault triggered a launch abort and destroyed the vehicle on the pad. Less than a year later, the Navy's Conventional Prompt Strike program lost all telemetry during a sea-based trial. No target data, no flight profile, just dead silence beyond the launch. The Air Force's air-launched rapid response weapon saw 3 consecutive failures between April and July 2022. In each case, thrust vector control anomalies or premature motor burnout led to vehicle breakup at hypersonic speeds, with a 4th test in early 2023 failing to complete its planned trajectory. Each of these attempts burned through $12 to $15 million per test, with hardware, range support, and recovery factored in. The cumulative spend, $4.1 to $4.8 billion by the end of 2023, according to GAO audits, produced no deployable weapon, only a paper trail of procurement justifications and technical postmortems. The pattern is consistent. Legacy contractors, decade-long timelines, and a single-use missile paradigm offer no path to iteration or cost reduction. The result is a hypersonic gap measured not just in speed, but in institutional inertia and sunk cost. With each failed launch, the pressure builds for a fundamentally different approach, one that can deliver verified performance without burning millions on every attempt. Inside a nondescript Atlanta warehouse, Hermeus began with a team of just 75, drawn from NASA, the Air Force, and industry heavyweights. The company was incorporated in 2018, but its approach looked nothing like the legacy defense giants. Instead of sprawling management layers, Hermeus runs on a flat structure. Decisions move from whiteboard to hardware in days, not quarters. Their operations budget for 2024 stands at $18 million, a figure that covers engineering, manufacturing, and testing. Each flight or engine test campaign is budgeted at roughly $2 million, an order of magnitude lower than the Pentagon's per-launch costs for single-use hypersonic missiles. The founders built their model on rapid iteration, concept to demonstrator in just 21 months, hardware on the floor every week, and a cadence that targets one new airframe per year. This Silicon Valley playbook, fail fast and learn faster, translates directly into economic advantage. Reusable test articles and modular design mean lessons from each sortie feed the next build, compressing timelines and slashing costs. Where traditional programs burn billions on one-off vehicles and protracted development, Hermeus treats every test as a stepping stone, not a dead end. The result is a company that can outpace the bureaucracy, delivering verified engineering milestones on a startup's runway. This culture of speed and accountability is not just a business choice. It is the foundation for technical progress that legacy contractors have struggled to match. At the heart of hypersonic flight lies a technical barrier known as the Valley of Death, the moment when a traditional turbojet engine can no longer generate thrust. For decades, this transition has been the Achilles heel of every reusable high-speed aircraft concept. On November 13, 2022, researchers at the University of Notre Dame's Aerospace Engineering Laboratory put this challenge to the test with Hermeus's Chimera power plant. Built around a proven Pratt Whitney F100 core, the engine was subjected to simulated Mach 4 conditions in a controlled wind tunnel environment. The objective was to achieve a seamless handoff from turbojet to ramjet mode without losing thrust or suffering an unstart, a catastrophic shockwave that can destroy an engine in milliseconds. The demonstration succeeded where previous efforts had failed. Under a peak inlet pressure of 2.8 bar, the Chimera engine initiated its transition sequence. In just over a second, air was diverted around the turbine core and into the ramjet combustor, igniting a new phase of propulsion without a drop in stability. The entire handoff took 1.2 seconds, with transient thrust curves captured in real time for algorithm development. This was not a theoretical exercise. The Notre Dame test produced hard data, confirming that the turbojet to ramjet transition could be executed reliably under flight representative conditions. For Hermeus, this result anchored the credibility of their approach, providing the laboratory proof that a single-engine architecture could bridge subsonic takeoff and Mach 5 cruise. The achievement cleared a path for full-scale materials validation and set the stage for flight testing, turning a long-standing technical risk into a verified engineering milestone. At hypersonic speeds, heat is the enemy. Mach 5 flight exposes leading edges to temperatures approaching 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, well beyond the limits of titanium or conventional alloys. Hermeus tackled this barrier with a combination of 3D-printed Inconel 718 heat exchangers and ceramic matrix composite coatings on key engine components. Additive manufacturing cut lead times from months to just 48 hours, allowing rapid iteration and cost control. Each exchanger was subjected to repeated thermal cycling, simulating the intense stress of high-speed flight. The Mark 0 ground campaign, completed at Edwards Air Force Base over 37 days, pushed these materials through 112 engine run cycles at sustained inlet temperatures of 1,200 degrees Celsius. Telemetry captured every second of operation, confirming that structural integrity held with no permanent deformation. Data links delivered over 95% packet recovery across a 500-kilometer line of sight, validating the system's resilience under real-world conditions. On May 27, 2025, the Mark 1 demonstrator took flight from Mojave, climbing to 55,000 feet and accelerating past Mach 5.2. Sensors embedded in the heat shield and engine bay reported that all thermal loads remained within design limits. Post-flight inspections revealed no structural damage, empirical proof that the aircraft was ready for reuse. These milestones, achieved with a startup's budget and a test range crew operating at a fraction of legacy costs, established the credibility of reusable hypersonic flight and set the stage for operational deployment. Darkhorse shifts the calculus of air power with a mission profile built for both speed and survivability. Operating at altitudes above 85,000 feet, it flies well outside the engagement envelope of most surface-to-air missile systems, including the Russian S-400. Each sortie costs between $1 and $2 million, an order of magnitude less than any hypersonic missile in current arsenals. Artificial intelligence manages trajectory, threat evasion, and in-flight retasking, allowing the platform to reach targets from Guam in under 30 minutes. Designed as a loyal wingman, Darkhorse can penetrate defended airspace, neutralize high-value targets, and return for rapid turnaround, making hypersonic strike not just possible, but practical. Russian and Chinese hypersonic arsenals face limits that go beyond engineering. Russia's Zircon missile, with a per-unit cost approaching $20 million, is projected to field no more than 200 operational units by 2030. Sanctions have squeezed access to high-temperature alloys, and serial production remains slow. Open-source estimates place annual output well below 100 missiles. China's DF-17 program, while larger in scale, is constrained by a 5 to 7 year lag in additive manufacturing of key materials like Inconel 718 and ceramic composites. Domestic yields for these alloys remain under 30%, with parity to U.S. processes unlikely before 2033. Both adversaries rely on single-use, high-cost weapons that cannot be replenished quickly or adapted in real time. In contrast, a reusable platform can fly hundreds of sorties for the cost of a single missile, creating a compounding advantage as missile stockpiles dwindle and manufacturing bottlenecks persist. NATO planners now weigh the logistics of stationing reusable hypersonic aircraft at forward bases like RAF Lakenheath in the UK, RAAF Tyndall in Australia, and Misawa Air Base in Japan. With Mach 3 scheduled for in-flight transition trials by 2026, the prospect of a 90-minute global reach is no longer theoretical. Policymakers face a defining choice. Double down on traditional missile arsenals or pivot to a model where Allied air bases host fleets capable of rapid, repeated sorties. The Defense Innovation Unit's production option stands ready, but the path forward will determine whether the United States converts technical momentum into lasting strategic advantage or leaves the door open for rivals to catch up. Today, a privately built $18 million prototype has flown at Mach 5.2, matching speeds that once demanded billion-dollar budgets and classified programs. As reusable hypersonics shift from theory to operational reality, the decisive edge now hinges on who can sustain technical momentum, not just claim a breakthrough. The race is truly underway.